Well, good afternoon, live from CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center offices in downtown Bakersfield. That's beautiful downtown Bakersfield. It's time for Webinar Wednesday, where you can get 55 minutes of a great business topic along with the lunch that you provide yourself. Well, good afternoon. I'm Kelly Bearden. I'm the director of the CSUB Small Business Development Center, or SBDC. And I'll be your moderator today as we bring in and talk about a very important topic for small business these days. And we have just the person to do that today. So we'll be getting on with that. But first, a little bit about the webinar experience today and the Small Business Development Center. The SBDC here in Bakersfield is part of a national program of SBDCs that cover all 50 states and is funded nationally by the U.S. Small Business Administration. Here in California, there are 6 centers, and we're part of the UC Merced Central California Regional Network, which is 14 counties that cover the central part of the state, from the Pacific Ocean to the Nevada border throughout Central California. And here at the CSU Bakersfield SBDC, we cover 3 counties. We like to refer to it as kind of our Italy of our territory, since it is somewhat shaped like Italy, where we cover Inyo, Mono, and also Kern counties throughout this region. So the SBDC program, what do? We provide high quality, confidential, no cost to you, one-on-one consulting. And we do that through a variety of different senior and also associate consultants, which are students of CSUB and other state universities. We also provide training. We do the training for business owners on a variety of different topics and mediums. So as some of you probably recall, our last webinar was on QuickBooks. We did a QuickBooks full-day seminar last week. We do shorter seminars and presentations. But our number one way of getting out this important business training to you small business owners is through this webinar series. We also occasionally will do an in-depth class, and we also work on special projects, and we're always your advocate for small businesses and your needs throughout our region in the state of California. So to perhaps get the greatest utilization out of the webinar today, let me show you a little bit about the interactions of your actual dashboard off to the right. You'll see a right arrow where there's question, and you can click on that right arrow and open that up and ask a question at the end of our presentation today. We will be actually answering questions. So as you come up with questions along the way, send them in. We'll queue them up and get them to our presenter when we have time at the end of the presentation. So utilize your question box if there's anything that you need to actually ask. So all attendees today are muted, so you can use the question. If you have any technical issue, there's also a chat that you can open up at the bottom, and you can communicate with your moderator through the chat aspect. We'll also have a poll today, so be ready for that toward the beginning of our webinar, and that is to kind of gauge the audience and what you are presently doing with the particular topic of the day. Also, we invite you to please complete the survey at the end of the webinar. Even though this is about our 60th or 65th webinar, we still value input on topics and on the presentation that was given and what you would like to see in future webinars. It's also a great way to get the handout because usually we have the PDF of the presentation, and oftentimes many of our participants want that handout. So please mention on your survey that you'd like the handout, and we'll get it to you in just a few days. So Maria Contreras-Sweet, who is the administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administrator, when she was talking about the work of the SBDCs in conjunction with their procurement and other lending program, said last year that it's the counseling that matters the most. The consulting offered by the SBDC and by others actually make it easier for a lot of actually the individuals to be able to actually do the work that they need to do once they get the consulting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce our presenter. And our presenter is Christine Osborne. And Christy is a search engine optimization and social media expert. She owns her own consulting company. Consulting company is called mountainsidemedia.com is where you can find her. But she's a consultant that deals, a lot of people deal with social media, but she deals with social media strategy and how to implement that in a small business. She's been an SBDC consultant serving Inyo and Mono counties since 2014. Until recently, she was with Mammoth Lakes Tourism. And you can see some of her fine work at visitmammoth.com, where she did a complete website design that is just absolutely fantastic. And I said that she works mostly with SBDC clients in Inyo and Mono counties, although occasionally she'll use our sister program to GoToWebinar, which is GoToMeeting, for online meetings on a one-on-one basis. Good afternoon, Christy. Take it away. It's all yours.
Thanks for having me, Kelly. I really appreciate hanging out with your participants today for lunch. I'm going to dive in because we have a lot to cover in this particular presentation, so I'm just not going to dally. This is social media in 15 minutes a day. This is a sane and scalable guide for small businesses because I understand that you all are not full-time marketers. You don't have time to be full-time marketers. You don't have 40 hours a week to spend on social media. And so I've created a system that helps small businesses build a strong strategic foundation so that they only have to spend about 15 minutes a day on social media to be successful. So what we'll cover today is how to attract raving fans, which social media channels you need to be on, what to say and when to say it, and by the end of the presentation, I will break down minute by minute your 15 minutes a day on social media. So I have a little caveat for you today. As a marketer, I tend to hook people with titles, and I sell you what you want, and I give you what you need. I probably should have called this presentation social media in 15 minutes a day after you've spent weeks laying a strategic groundwork, because tactics are the easy part, but tactics a solid strategy. But I just didn't think that that would be as sexy, so I went with sane and scalable. Okay, so let's dive in. Step one for social media in 15 minutes a day, you have to start with your customers. And I've been working in marketing for, let's see, 9 years now directly, and I've been consulting for several years, and I have consistently seen that if you do not get this one thing right, nothing else is going to work right. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on figuring out who your customers are and where they're hanging out. So before I begin with customers, Kelly, just out of curiosity, can we have a poll?
Yes.
And I'm wondering what popular social media channels you're currently using.
And we've just launched the poll. What social media channels are you using now? And you can select one or more of the following: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. So get your votes in quickly. I know election day is not today, it was yesterday, but you're at the polls today. And we've got about 80% voting, so we'll kind of wrap this up. It's coming in about 93% of you are on Facebook, and almost half on Twitter and less on Instagram. 21% of you say you're doing Pinterest, 46% LinkedIn. So that's 93%, 57%, 39, 21, and 46. We'll close the poll right now and share the results with you. And give it back to Christy. So, little technical issue here, which has never happened.
Hi.
So I think I have your screen. Somehow the
Oh, you
poll
do?
stole your screen.
Pardon me? Oh, yeah, look at that. That's my screen. Well, do you want to give me the poll results and the control, and we'll just keep going?
Yeah, almost everybody's on Facebook.
Good.
Then the next group is Twitter,
Okay, good.
and then we go to actually kind of a close one, but it's LinkedIn,
Okay,
and
good.
then it goes to Pinterest, and that's pretty much the way it is.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to talk a great deal about Facebook and Twitter. Well, not a great deal, but a little bit about Facebook and Twitter particularly today. So this will work out well. All right, let's cruise on down. Okay, so start with your customers. All professional marketers start with personas, and I don't care if you're a small business consultant or a major marketing firm like the firm we used in Mammoth Lakes Tourism, Marion Carson, who had a $2 million market personas. And what market personas do is they will tell you all of the habits and the psychographic and demographic makeup of your people. Here's the deal with social media. One of the things that makes it tricky about social media is you can no longer think about your customer in terms of a female between the ages of 25 and 55 who live in Southern California and have 2 children and read housekeeping drive a Volvo, okay? Because people are on social media to be social, you need much more information about your audience. And so in addition to some of those demographic details, you also want to start fleshing out this person as a real person. This is going to tell you exactly who your audience is, and it's going to start to get you thinking about why they should care about your product, okay? Because they're not on social media to buy your product or your service. They're on social media to be social. So you have to figure out how to be social with them on a human-to-human basis. This is going to take you about 1 to 4 hours of pre-work, okay? This is not your 15 minutes a day. This is you sitting down at the beginning of the month, carving out some CEO time for yourself, and really thinking about your market. So this William Grove, aka Weekend Warrior William, is an actual market persona that I used at Visit Mammoth when I was working there. And he was a persona specifically for our Facebook channel. He is 26 years old, okay? We gave him one age, not an age range. Hair color, an eye color, and a single residence, and a profile. Because when I got stuck, when I got writer's block, when I just didn't feel like being on social media, who understands this? I was busy. I had emails to respond to and things to do, and I didn't want to be on Facebook. It helped me to look at this picture and just get a snapshot of this person that I was talking to, and it made me create more authentic content. So his bio, I'll do a quick rundown, but basically William sees himself as the adventurous type who lives life to the fullest. He's not yet married with kids and so has the freedom to jump in his car on Friday night after work during a storm cycle. He's popular and enjoys socializing with friends, both in person and through social media, and he's a work hard, play hard type. He surfs, he works out at the gym, he enjoys a number of adventure sports. Now, this might seem like a lot of make-believe, but how we use this as a tool is because we knew that Weekend Warrior William was not married and that he had the freedom to get up to Mammoth Lakes at a moment's notice. We started creating content on Facebook about our storm cycles and having strong calls to action for this particular persona to come up for the weekend if we were experiencing a storm midweek. So we knew what kind of content we were going to give to Weekend Warrior William, and we understood the trigger. So then it doesn't become a matter of sitting down in front of your computer and thinking, what am I going to post on Facebook today? You know what you're going to post. start typing the actual content. We also knew that he was popular and enjoyed socializing with his friends, both in person and through social media. So this particular person is what we called an influencer or a sharer. So in addition to being a traveler who would spend money in market, he was somebody who would amplify our social media messages, okay? So getting really deep into the psychology of your audience member and developing one archetype that has commonalities and similarities with your larger audience will help you more easily generate those ideas. So tips for creating a strong market persona include creating one person, which I've already mentioned. You don't want to think about a group or an audience. When you're on social media and you're being social, you are talking to actual people and you are a person. So think about the personhood of this situation. Focus on their emotions. There's a lot of evidence in marketing that consumers are not logical. So focus in particular on this person's greatest hopes and or fears. So if you're B2B, you can focus on solving problems. If you are selling a product, you can focus on lifestyle, but focus on emotions. Stalk your favorites. If you have an ideal customer or client that you know and they're a real person, go ahead and see where they're hanging out online. If they have a public Facebook profile, take a look at it. Who are they following? What do they talk about? How do they express their greatest dreams and fears? Note all of that down because you can use it to produce content on social media and also to flesh out your market persona. Validate your assumptions. Once you've created your market persona and you start delivering content, if the content flops and nobody likes it, shares it, or comments on it, your market persona might be a little off, or you might be on the wrong channel. So once you've created your market persona or chosen your channel, which we will talk about in a minute, validate those assumptions. And then find a picture of this person. I have not found any more useful tool than actually printing out a picture of my market persona's faces and pinning them to my office wall. And when I get stuck and I'm unmotivated and I have writer's block, I look at the picture and remember that one person. Explore the problems you can solve, self-explanatory. Write a story about your persona. Write a story about their typical day or their typical vacation or their typical time spent with their children or their typical girls' night out for margaritas or guys' pool night. The more you can understand the emotional makeup of your persona, the easier it is going to be to produce content. And then iterate when necessary. As a marketer, I end up revisiting and reworking my market personas once every 3 to 5 years. So pretty much about the same amount of time as you would buy a new computer. Okay, so you have your market persona down. You've written it, her or him all out. And now let's talk about choosing the social media channels that you need to be on as a business. So most of you are on the most popular ones, and that's fine, maybe. But here's the big secret that a lot of marketers won't tell you. The secret is this. You don't actually have to be on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or Vine or Twitter or Stellar or any other social media du jour that's coming down the pike. Where you need to be is where your tribe is hanging out. So what I would worry about is don't worry about a specific channel that everybody is on. Worry about the channels that your market personas and audience are on, okay? This is going to take you between 1 and 3 weeks of pre-work. So the way that you're going to do this is you're going to go out on social media and you're going to look for brands in your industry and you're going to figure out what channels they're working. Okay, a lot of brands are already on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and also LinkedIn. Okay, also look for your competitors in X industry and see what channels and platforms they're on. Now, to understand which channel you should be on, you want to look for the highest interaction engagement from their fans. So if you see a brand on Facebook and they have 1 million fans, but they only get maybe 10 or 50 likes per post on their Facebook fan page, it's not an engaged audience. So either the audience isn't on Facebook or worked hard to engage a particular audience. So don't look at just one brand. Look at a lot of brands, a lot of competitors, and a lot of experts in your industry, and try to find the leaders that have a lot of engagement. Engagement indicates that your clients or customers are likely on that platform, and they'll listen to you. Watch for problem and benefit language online and on social media around the products and services that you are. So this is, if you're on Twitter, you might want to watch for customer service complaints around your product or service, not for your business, but for your competitors, brands, and industry experts in your field. And then finally, to find if people are on a certain platform, search and watch hashtags related to your industry, including branded hashtags, such as if you're in the outdoor retail business, you might want to watch the hashtag LLBean or REI. Your competitor, maybe if you're in Mammoth Lakes, you want to watch and see if anybody uses the hashtag Kittredge or Footloose Sports. And then also look for hashtags around the products or services for your industry. And you want to get a lot of data at this stage. You don't want to just look at one channel or one brand or one hashtag. You want to look at as much as you can, and you want to find the best, most engaged platform that your audience is hanging out online, and then work that channel first and become very engaged with your audience on that channel before moving to another channel. And that way you ensure you're building really powerful audiences rather than spreading yourself too thin. Okay, so some popular social media channels that you will find different audiences on are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and review sites. It's key to know that different audiences and different types of people hang out on different platforms. So Facebook is full of some early millennials that are in their mid-30s, a lot of Gen Xers in their 40s and 50s, and then baby boomers in their late 50s, 60s, and beyond. Twitter, you tend to have media, brands, athletes, and celebrities hanging out. If you're selling a product, you also might get customers who are looking for customer service on Twitter. Instagram is full of photographers, hipsters, young travelers, foodies, athletes. It's a younger set. LinkedIn is industry professionals, companies, recruiters, and PR and media. I'm right in the middle of a PR campaign for a new company I'm working for, and the first thing that we did before we started sending out press releases is we made sure that our company profile page was up to snuff. Pinterest has a lot of moms, brides, teachers, travelers, crafters, and bloggers. And Yelp and TripAdvisor, Yelp has locals, foodies, travelers, TripAdvisor has foodies and travelers. So understanding where general people are hanging out online can help you know where to start looking. So once you find a promising channel for your business, you want to really slow down and start observing what's going on in that channel. Find out where your audience is, but also how they act in their chosen online communities. What are some of the unspoken rules? How do they communicate? Do they use emojis? Is it image rich or not? Is it personal or professional? And you're going to want to take 1 to 2 weeks to just really sit and observe the platforms you think you should be on. And you should have narrowed it down to 1 or 2, 3 tops at this point. So first you want to just watch, listen to, and see if your audience is really on this channel. I just covered that with hashtags and engagement. Then watch how people like to interact on the channel. For example, Twitter and Instagram is a hashtag game. Facebook, not so much. Pinterest, not so much. They can accommodate hashtags, but that's not how the audiences organically communicate on those channels. Start a swipe file and steal like an artist. Learn from the best. If you see a brand or an influencer doing something particularly well with the audience you're trying to attract, take screenshots of what they're doing and put it into a folder on your desktop and just analyze it. Look at what's working and start to form your own audience. And then be a good person on social media. People aren't on social to be advertised to, they're on social media to be social. And so an easy way that you can be social is to be interested in your audience instead of interesting. And this comes from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Be interested before you're interesting. When you're interested in people, people will naturally be interested in you. When you pay attention to people, people pay attention to you. If you try to cram your product or service down people's throat on social media, they will ignore you. So be interested in your audience. And then I want to just take a moment to talk about what to swipe, because the swipe file key for up-leveling your learning curve. So what you want to look for is you want to look in your industry for somebody who is talking to a similar market persona. And so here I used Visit Asheville, because Asheville is very similar to Visit Mammoth Lakes. And so we watched Asheville for months looking at what they were doing in their newsletters, on social media, with their blog, and we started testing content types and stealing their ideas like an artist. You're looking for a high fan to follower ratio. So if, for example, you're on Twitter and you see somebody who has 50,000 followers, you want to see that they're only following a couple thousand. If they are following 60,000 followers and they only have 50,000 followers, they're probably automating the follow-unfollow thing, and they're probably gaming the system, and they probably don't have a real tribe. They probably just have followers that don't pay attention to them. Look for high engagement. If you notice here on the Visit Asheville Facebook post, they had 2,387 people like that post, and they had 528 shares and dozens of comments. So it's not enough just to look in follower bases for your competitors or brands that you admire. You're looking for engagement. Engagement is everything on social now. And then test and learn. Okay, so you also want to participate. You cannot do it alone. Social media is like a party. It's no fun when no one shows up but you. So in addition to pushing out whatever message you want to push out on social media, you also want to start entering conversations very organically and as a person. Be interested in people. Be helpful. Comment on other people's stuff, share other people's stuff. The more you're interested in people, the more people will reciprocate. So one way to keep track of being interested in the right people is to use lists and to start to aggregate different types of lists and influencers. You can do this on Facebook, you can do it on Twitter, do it on LinkedIn. But basically, just as an example, here on Facebook, in my job as a wedding blogger, I have lists such as top wedding bloggers to adore or follow, preferred mountain wedding vendors. This is my client list, my customer list, other blogs, lifestyle things I'm interested, like web development and design, top vendors I want to follow. And what I can do is I can click on any of these links and just sort the Facebook updates by those people that I put on the list, right? So instead of being inundated with a feed of thousands of updates every single day on Facebook, I can narrow it down to the top 12 people in my industry that I want to follow and build relationship with. And I can do that quickly through lists. Twitter has the same thing. Instagram, if you want to follow lists on Instagram, you're going to have to use something called Iconosquare, and this will allow you to create groups of people that you can follow. This will allow you to heart, comment, and like on just 6 or 12 people that you really want to get their attention. Again, you're interested in them, they will be interested in you. Another way to get information and sort information is to set up alerts. You can set up Google alerts for keywords that you're interested in related to your industry. You can set them up for competitors. You can set them up for your own brand. But this is a way for information to come to you rather than you having to go out into a million places online and finding information. Doing this on the front end will set you up for your 15 minutes of social media a day because you're no longer searching for content, the content's coming to you. And then I also still use feed readers to follow my favorite websites and blogs. This will be really key for curating content and sharing content that your audience might like. One last thing about social media, make sure your profile, wherever you are, is polished. Have a professional picture of yourself or your professional logo in the profile icon. Make sure that you have strong, compelling cover photos. Make sure that all of your page info is filled out with your website, company descriptions, links back to your website, and make sure you are active. People will not follow half-completed accounts or accounts that have content that's not regularly updated. So make sure that you're dressing for success on social media and showing that you are engaged. Okay, so let's talk figuring out what to say. Again, we're not quite at the 15 minutes. We're still setting up the strategy. So the easiest way to figure out what to say is to develop content types, okay? And these are buckets of content categories that you're going to use to stay consistent on social media and not make every single post a full-bore creative process every time. So before you even start to schedule, and I know that you've heard about scheduling on social media and that's going to be a game changer. Yeah, it can be a game changer if you know what you're going to talk about. And this is how you know what you're going to talk about. So a couple of different content types that work well across all small businesses are what your audience likes. So you can curate and share content around interests that you share with your customer persona. So if you are a restaurant and you have an enthusiasm around handcrafted pottery from Mexico, you can sprinkle that kind of content into your social media in addition to whatever business or brand content that you're sharing, just to show that you're human and that you like other things. Another content type is what people need. You can share content that you think your customer persona will find useful. So FedEx, if you look at their Pinterest profile, has all of these pin boards around gift giving because they know that consumers tend to ship gifts to people. And so they don't have a social media channel talking about packaging. They have social media channels talking about what goes into the package. This is what people are actually wanting. Nobody wants to buy a box. Everybody wants to send a gift. Think about a problem you can solve. Start with your frequently asked questions from your client base or whatever you found from listening to your ideal clients on social media. And also share content from related and adjacent industries that can help you relationships with those people in those industries, which can help you amplify your message because they will share your content. Okay, so you want to find the intersection of these types of things and create buckets of content categories first. Okay. Once you create those content buckets, you want to start curating the content. So you want to start gathering all of this content way before you start publishing it. Okay, so anytime you're online, you see a juicy piece of content that you want to share with your audience or customers online. One way I like to do it is I like to set up Pinterest boards. And And you can have a pin board for each content type. And every time you find something interesting, you're just one pin, one click away from being able to save it. Okay? Curation is a 3-step process of finding first, then saving, then distributing the content. So you want to make sure that you're saving a lot of content to choose from before you even start scheduling things. You can also don't be afraid to play favorites. A great way to build relationships and add value is to follow some journalists or bloggers or websites that you love and constantly curate and share their content. Okay, so once you know what your content buckets are and you start curating, pardon me, and you start curating that content from sources on a daily basis, you want to start plugging content types in for specific days. So this is getting close to scheduling, but it's sort of a pre-schedule. And here you'll see this is my actual real deal posting schedule for Twitter and Facebook for Mountainside Media. So every Monday early in the morning, I have a quote of the day. And in fact, I have a quote of the day every single day. It just moves around in time. I have certain days I post my blog posts. Certain days I post about social media marketing, which is usually content somebody else wrote that I'm sharing in order to add value for my audience and also build relationships online. I have business development, productivity, metrics and ROI, whole bunch of stuff. And then on the weekends, I kind of lighten up and I have some lifestyle posts on Facebook around travel and dogs, which are two things that I personally love. I also have, for my schedule, I will make a calendar of quirky holidays and famous birthdays, and I'll use those famous birthdays to inform my quotes of the day. So on June 18th, I'll have a quote by George Mallory, who summited Everest, and on June 22nd, I'll have a quote by Meryl Streep. This keeps my content fresh in some ways, but very, very consistent in other ways. And my audience gets trained to show up for very specific and very high value content, which keeps them coming back again and again. And then once you have your content types, then once you have your categories, then you start going back to wherever you've saved your content. I like Pinterest, but you could save it you can use a bookmarking system or Evernote or just a file on your desktop. Once you have your category set up, then it becomes really easy to just go find that content that you've been curating for the past couple of weeks and scheduling it. Now you're not even thinking. Everything is set up and it's ready to go and it's scalable. A few scheduling tools that I like, I'm going to go over very quickly, are Hootsuite. Hootsuite is great for listening and scheduling across multiple platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They do have a Pinterest plugin for their pro level, and I think they have LinkedIn now. Buffer is great for sharing and scheduling. You can download a browser button that will allow you to just click from your browser on content and it will auto schedule it for you. And I am using Sendable right now to auto schedule. I'm a big Twitter user, and because the Twitter timeline is live and it goes by so quickly, I tend to schedule my content between 6 and 10 times for a single piece of content to make sure it gets seen. And then finally, of course, you want to watch your metrics and you want to reschedule what works. Different platforms like Hootsuite, Buffer, and Sendable have different places where you can find metrics, but they'll all basically tell you the same thing. And if you see something that's getting, for example, on my wedding blog, I had 37,000 shares for this one post in 2015, you better believe I'm sharing it over and over and over again when I can, because I know it works and that will continue to help build an engaged audience. Some more tools by channel for scheduling. Twitter includes Tweepy, Hootsuite, Buffer, and Sendable. Facebook, I prefer to use the native scheduler because there are very few schedulers that will allow you to at mention or the link structure gets a little funky, so use the native on Facebook. Instagram, I use Schedulegram. You can also use Iconosquare or Social Blade. And then Pinterest, the big one, is viral tag. And then you can also create graphics on things like Canva. Okay, so now now you've gotten all that work done. Now we're at your 15 minutes a day. Here's how to do social media in 15 minutes a day after you've spent weeks setting up your strategic platform. 1 to 2 minutes, respond. Check any messages that are coming in through direct message, IM, or personal message. Monitor any app mentions that people are directly trying to reach you, and monitor any of your branded hashtags, and engage. 3 to 5 minutes, schedule. If you haven't yet done so, schedule any posts for the day. I also tend to schedule a week in advance, and I've been known to schedule up to 2 weeks in advance. A rule of thumb is you want to be on Facebook at least once a day, 3 times a week, Twitter 4 times a day, 5 times a week, Instagram once a day, 3 times a week, and Pinterest once a day, 3 times a week at the very minimum. 6 to 8 minutes, review. Look for your new content, trending hashtags, moments to share, scan all of your lists, check for new articles, check your email for alerts or roundups. And then finally, the bulk of your time in social media is that being interesting part. You want to spend 5 to 10 minutes engaging and being a part of your community. So you want to like, comment, and share stuff from other people who have liked, followed, and shared you. So as I'm going through my social media channels every day, if somebody has liked, shared, or commented on a piece of content, I click over to their platform and make sure that I'm liking, sharing, or commenting on their stuff as well. Like, comment, and share influencer stuff. Okay, so even if influencers aren't engaged on your platform, be a good in their stuff. You do it consistently enough and authentically enough, they will take notice. And then like, comment, and share super fan stuff. All businesses have that, like 1 or 2 people that just shares all your stuff and likes all your stuff, and make sure that you're giving them some social media love. And also don't be afraid to reach out to them through direct message or PM and just offer them a little gift and drop it in the mail to say thanks. So to recap, the first thing you want to do is develop your market personas. Find one core channel to be on first. Develop your content types and editorial schedule, and then reach out to your peeps. And that is how you do social media in 15 minutes a day. Kelly, how do I take some questions? I'd love to take some questions.
Well, I'm ready for some questions. We have a few questions right now, and Christy just said it was your 15 minutes. Now you've got 10 minutes to ask questions of Christy. So let me give you a few of the ones that have come in so far.
Okay.
What is the biggest mistake I should avoid? Isn't that a great question?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake I see people make on social media is they get their scheduling down and then they set it and forget it, and they forget about engagement. And if we go back to the social media in 15 minutes a day, engagement should take up a full 30%, if not more, of your time. People will not care about you if you do not care about them. Social media is not a billboard, it's not a megaphone, it's not a broadcast medium. It is the water cooler. And so the biggest mistake I see businesses and brands make is they put out great content and they don't engage their audience.
Okay. How can I convert social media followers into customers?
Oh, boy, my expertise and specialty. I love this question. The first step, and I could do a full webinar on social media ROI, but the first step is to know your sales funnel and where in the funnel your social media audience is, okay? So if they're at the top of the funnel on social media, you're not going to get a direct ROI from social media to your product or service. You need to figure out how to bring them into the next step in the funnel, and then from there the next step and the next step and the next step. So the short answer is you have to know your sales funnel, and you have to know where people are in the sales funnel, and you need to figure out some sort of lead generation system to start moving them from social media into your lead gen into that final sale.
Okay, next question. Bill asks, we're a nonprofit. How much different would it be for us since we don't have a product or personal service to sell?
Right. I love this question. I'm actually working with two nonprofits on social media, and nonprofit is a little bit different. I would spend a lot more time developing out the emotional makeup of your market persona and really understand why why that person is either giving time or money to your nonprofit, and start unpacking that emotional map on social media. So generally people will contribute or work for nonprofits to solve a problem in the world. They also will do it to foster a sense of community and feel connected. And so you need to figure out what the emotional makeup of your market persona is and start uh, playing on that emotional makeup a little bit more so. There is, if you want more information about Facebook marketing for nonprofits in particular, but also his work extends to all social media platforms, his basic strategy, check out Inbound Zombie. Why he named it Inbound Zombie, I have no idea, but he is basically the top leading expert for social media for nonprofits. Inbound Zombie.
And Bill, my 2 cents on that is since I know you're nonprofit, you're selling the benefits of your entire community. And so take that into consideration when you're working with this. Okay, next. Uh, can you please speak about building up your number of likes?
Yeah. Yeah, couple things. One, it's just going to take some time. Building an audience is a long game. Um, but the biggest thing I can tell you is the two biggest things I can tell you is one, you are engaging in your community and not just pushing out content. Okay, the audience is you become a member of your own community, and you ask them questions and you celebrate their wins and you engage on their channels, and you're just a good community member. The second thing is you have to really start looking at your metrics, okay, and um, what your goals are for for that particular platform. So for example, when I came on to Visit Mammoth, I grew our Facebook audience from 13,000 to more than 30,000 in 1 year. And the way that I did that was, one, I knew my market persona and I knew what kind of content that I thought that audience would enjoy and engage in. Two, instead of thinking about fans, I thought about engagement first. And here's why. Facebook's algorithm is created so that if you put out content on Facebook in particular, and also Instagram because they own it, Twitter has, or not Twitter, Pinterest has copied this. If you put out content and nobody likes, shares, or comments on it, Facebook won't show it anymore. So it seems counterintuitive, but the way to build a large audience, especially on Facebook or any channel that's running on an algorithm, is to first build engagement metrics. So you are trying to produce content that gets the maximum number of likes, shares, and comments. And when we stopped looking at likes on Facebook and we started, or I'm sorry, when we stopped looking at fans on Facebook and started looking at likes, and really working our content so that we got the maximum number of likes and shares, our audience exploded. So focus on audience engagement and the numbers will follow.
Fantastic. Okay, next question comes from Elaine, and it's do you create multiple personas for different products or services?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And thank you for asking this. One of the biggest problems that I run into with clients is they want to make 10 different market personas because they're trying to include everybody and serve all of the needs. It depends. You can create multiple personas if their behaviors completely different, and their usage patterns are completely different. So for example, I created 4 market personas for Visit Mammoth. I had a family winter and a family summer, because the way that winter people spend and the activities that they do were fundamentally different from the summer families. Okay, I also had a winter radical group and a summer radical group, again because they were fundamentally different. However, when I've created market personas for my wedding blog, when I created market personas for my consulting business, they just have one. One is fine. Do I offer multiple services? Yes. Can I build you a website? Yes. Can I do SEO for you? Yes. Can I do content marketing for you? Yes. But the need that you have is very similar in that you want to grow your business and increase your sales. So I don't need to make different personas for the different tools I use. I have one persona for the outcome. I hope that makes sense.
Our next question is, what are your thoughts on videos and Facebook Live?
Oh my gosh. Our engagement has gone through the roof with live streaming. It's a really excellent way to show behind the scenes of your business. It's a wonderful way to show the humanity of your business. And because Facebook is in a war with Twitter and Periscope, Facebook is right now, and it seems like Facebook is algorithmically favoring live streaming. So for Facebook Live, especially as a live streaming format, it's super powerful right now. When you talk about something like Vine or Periscope, well, let's talk about Periscope because Periscope's more live streaming. Vine's just video. But if you talk about live streaming in Periscope, you're going to have to really do some research to make sure your audience is hanging out there, because it's sort of it seems a little bit more niche-y to me right now. It's when we did Periscope for Visit Mammoth, we definitely found people on there, but it was nothing compared to the audience with Facebook live streaming. So we decided to phase out Periscope because we just didn't have the human resources to do everything, and turn to Facebook Live, and it's been a tremendous strategy for us. We're getting so much engagement.
Okay, our last question, and it comes from Misty, and she asks, our organization is small with only a few employees. Who should set up and maintain the firm's social media accounts?
I would say if you the CEO or the executive director or whoever's in the strategic leadership should set up the strategy. Once the strategy is set up all the way to the content categories, the content buckets, and maybe into the scheduling of the content categories, then you can outsource to an intern or hire somebody in town or give it to a staffer. But the strategy should remain at the executive level. I see so many businesses who feel so overwhelmed with social media that they find the first 22-year-old recent college graduate who has a Facebook profile, and they say, please do my social media for me. And they'll do it, but without that brand strategy, without that overall content strategy or engagement strategy, it often falls flat, and it ends up being a waste of everybody's time and money. You want to delegate the responsibility, not abdicate it. And in order to delegate the responsibility, you have to take responsibility for the strategic direction for this. So to make a short story tediously long, the beginning and end of it is the strategy should sit at the executive level, and by the time you're getting into the 15 minutes a day, you can teach whoever you're outsourcing to the strategies involved, and then give them that 15 minutes a day to implement.
Well, fantastic, actually. And great questions, everyone. And a great presentation by someone I'm proud as a member of our SBDC team. Christy, fantastic job again. We're about out of time. And any last comments, Christy?
Just that, like you said in the beginning of the presentation, most of my clients that I handle in my regular business, I handle through online tools such as Skype, and I use Google Docs a lot. So if you're not in Inyo or Mono County and you'd like to sit down with me for an hour or so through the SBDC program, I am available to everybody.
And what a great resource, too. So, looks like we're out of time. Well, thank you. And for Christy Osborne, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back next month with another one of our Webinar Wednesdays. Remember to take our survey. And also, if you'd like a copy of the slides in PDF, note so on the survey. So, everyone, have a great and profitable day. We'll see you next month. Goodbye now.
Thank you.